The idea of shelter came about kind of in two interlocking ways. I was doing a collaboration or had been working with Craig Harris. Craig Harris is a jazz musician and composer that I met when I was at Sounds in Motion, Diane McIntyre Sounds in Motion. And he had an album called Shelter. And I noticed it had a quote of something about looking at homelessness all over the world. And as I began to notice that the homelessness was overwhelming for me coming to New York, I hadn't seen anything like that. And it was really hard, but what was even harder was one day when I realized I stepped over someone. And the fact that I could just now dehumanize someone living on the street to the point where I just stepped over them, it meant I didn't see them as a human being anymore. And so the combination of those two things is when I started thinking about the creation of shelter as a way to humanize myself, because I think it's dangerous when you can stop seeing something, even when it's hard to see. I think it's more dangerous to not see it. And in that process, hopefully whatever audience would see it, it would make them acutely aware of the issue, so that even when you're confronted on the subway or on the street with someone asking for money, you may not know what to do, or you may have a choice about what you want to do, but you have to see it and feel it. I think that's important. When we first began working on shelter as an ensemble, Urban Bushwomen, I think we started with talking and like, what did people see? What did they feel? And then noticing what were the gestures that they saw, what was the physicality that they saw of people on the street. And then what I really became interested in was their survival, because I would see people that seemed like they shouldn't be surviving. It looked like they had every ailment or disease or skin rashes, and yet they were surviving. We were also talking about as a group the idea of displacement, and that as African descended people, we were displaced in this place. And there was a constant sense of running, the fugitive state, the underground state, the way that groups form community, even though it doesn't look like they're in community. So with the group, we worked a lot through talking, through research, the research of noticing and watching, the research of reading, and talking about fugitive states or the ways that we've had to run, going from the south to the north. When I transferred the work to the Ailey company, it was the first time I'd ever restaged the work on any company. So I was beyond intimidated. I didn't have any experience with it. So I didn't have an articulation of the process or how we find weight, all of the things that now I have an articulation of. In the beginning, I could see it was really different. And I just like, okay, that's really different, but I don't know what to do about it, because number one, I was intimidated. So how was I going to tell, like some of these fabulous divas, and I'm just like feeling like I just arrived into New York, like how to do something. So we had the process. I just hadn't had to articulate it to someone who hadn't kind of been in it from the building of the ground up. So over time, it was really understanding that first we have to create an ensemble. We have to create a sense that we are on the stage together and dependent upon one another. No matter what happens, we are the community for that moment. The other thing was not working with live music. So we always worked with live music. And so we didn't count shelter. And I realized, oh, this is, in order to make this a little bit more consistent, because we didn't work with counts, we sang it, and the drummers followed us. So if we took 5 sets of eights, and the drummer took 5 sets of eights. So we didn't have to worry about how long something took. Sometimes it was like in that what we call the slave ship section, the being forced to dance. That idea of when enslaved Africans were in the Middle Passage and they were brought up on the ships and they were forced to dance. That was the imagery. So we did that, as we didn't have a count or a number. It was a feeling, and then the drummer would feel with us and give the call. And I realized, oh, I've got to set counts to this. And so I think it's squared off in the counting. That's one of the things that happened. And it became, in some ways, more martial. We had probably the rhythm of swing was there in how we were working. And then when we went to that insistent drum rhythm in that way, it gave it a different kind of force, which I actually liked. So that was good. The experiences from this last time of restaging Shelter with the Ailey women, it was profound. First of all, that is a group of young leaders. They have tremendous leadership potential. And I think the repertory over the years of Ailey has changed. So what I was introducing wasn't so foreign. It wasn't as different as it was when I first restaged Shelter. So these women were able to take the prompts and take agency. And that's what I like to see. We work with an organization called People's Institute for Survival and Beyond, and they do workshops on understanding and undoing racism. And they're a partner of ours and has been for many years. And one of their definitions of leadership is supporting a process where people gain a sense of their own power. And that, for me, is key to everything that I do. I have to question, is this empowering or disempowering? And if I'm creating a process where people get a sense of their own power, I have to give a lot of thought to my language, to how I'm asking, what I'm asking, and to be able to see what they have to offer. Sometimes I have to get out of the way as the director because I can have a limited idea of something. And then I see this thing that happens. It's like, oh. So that for me is when their power is coming through fully. Dance for me, one of the powers of dance is the embodiment. It is the act of going through. And the act of going through a choreographic work that is asking you to look at something changes you. There's no way you cannot be changed. And I think that's the value and power of repertory, of doing a work again and again. You peel the layers of the onion and you keep discovering it. It is now part of who you are. And I think when you find that, and then the audience sees that, they are changed. Tell me, where we all gonna call home, where we all gonna go, what we all gonna do. I just, I think the stories of work and working with people is really important to be told, because that's, dance is a process where we, at its best, we pass down person to person. We can learn from the video, and sometimes we have to, but the power is in the orality of passing down from person to person, because that's where the stories are. So I really appreciate that I have the opportunity to speak about Shelter.